We laugh, but we recognize ourselves, don't we? I mean, you know, we may not have thought the epistles were the wives of the apostles, but what the heck are the epistles, really? You know, for those of us who are not literate in Christian speak, you know, there is a certain way we get familiar with the scriptures, we get familiar with Bible study, and all of a sudden we're talking about apologetics and we're talking about all these terms which most people have no idea what they are, okay? So hopefully today we're going to help fill the gap or unite the distance between the longest 18 inches in the world. What's the longest 18 inches in the world? It's the distance between your brain, your head, and your heart. Okay? If we go off on intellectual exercises, and sometimes I have to be reined in because I like facts and I like to study, it's hopefully, for the most part, always going to have a practical application to our lives. You know, if we go into the scriptures, we're going to always mine something that's going to be applicable to our lives. Now, let me just give you some givens about the scriptures, and then I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Old Testament and about the New Testament. What we need to know as Catholics is that the written revelation of God, are a very important part of what God has revealed to man and to woman, but it is not the only thing that God has revealed to man and to woman and to humanity, okay? The scriptures are a very important part, but the other two parts are very important too, and they are what? The sacred tradition of the church, if you'll put those words on. The fullness of the revelation of what we have as Catholic Christians is comprised of three main prongs: the scriptures, the sacred traditions, and the teaching magisterium of the church. And let me just say a little bit about each one. Now keep in mind, you know, the thing that really helped me understand this was understanding finally that Jesus Christ did not write a 12-step program. He didn't write a booklet. He didn't write a manuscript. He didn't even leave outlines for talks or crib notes that he used, okay? Jesus left his whole person to his disciples. Basically what he did is he gathered 12 disciples and then 72 and then a whole large group of people, men and women, who lived with him, breathed with him, ate with him, slept with him, traveled with him for 3 years. And they collected everything that he said and he did. But I may not remember everything that you remember about what he said. Why? Because I have different filters. All right? So that the body of knowledge about the person of Jesus Christ cannot be transmitted only in the written word. There are many other things that Jesus said and did. And if we were to contain them in this book would go on forever. Anybody recognize these words? I just paraphrased the end of the Gospel of John. And John should know, because John was what? One of Jesus' best friends. All right? So there are many other things that are not contained in the written word that are just as important for us to know. And that's where the sacred tradition of the church comes in. Now the third prong is what? The magisterium. When you say the word, it sounds so forbidding. Actually, it comes from the word magister, teacher, to teach. Okay, so magisterium, just basically when you say teaching magisterium, what you're saying is teaching, teaching. And what that means is that Jesus entrusted his person, his message to his friends. His friends then entrusted the message to their successors. Their successors then entrusted the message to their successors. And that's what you also know as an unbroken line of apostolic succession. So one of the things hopefully we'll do in this study too is kind of diffuse all these big words. You know, what does apostolic succession mean? Well, I just told you. It's Jesus gave his message, gave his whole person to his disciples gave them to their disciples, and so on and so forth. And that's how we get today the teaching magisterium of the church.